Greeting, loved ones. Today we are going to talk about societal support for abuse and domestic violence. It's a very, very important theme today. So to help get these messages out, please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, hit the like button, and please share these messages with others because these messages are really important. You never know, just by doing so you could save a life. One of the challenges that victims of violence face is the negative social attitudes that promote violence against women. In society in general, they hold certain attitudes about women and their proper roles. And some of these attitudes and stereotypes work in favor of abusers and against the women who are their victims. The following list describes some of the negative social attitudes and practices as well as the abuser's actions that are supported by the stereotypes about women. So let's look at these stereotypes. Rigid stereotypes and roles for men and women, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. Women trained by custom and sometimes by law to be dependent on men, and they're not trained to be independent individuals. There are many barriers to women in employment, government, and leadership. Another is the view that men ought to control money, jobs, and all of the major family decisions. The family as an institution discourages any member from leaving or divorce. We run into this with churches and their different beliefs about what men and women should do and why you can separate and why not separate. And then we have police and doctors, schools, and other institutions in society that don't always respond quickly to cues of abuse. Most of the time it's because they don't really know what they're supposed to do. They're unsure. Like if you look at the video of Gabby and him, I will not state his name, but Gabby and him, when the police came, with more than 20 years experience in domestic violence and violence against women and children in ministry, and having been a victim of violence, there were clues all over the place that Gabby was showing and expressing in some of the words that she said. And I was just imagining the questions I would have asked at that moment. It was extremely clear to me that there was a serious problem. So remember, police and doctors and schools and other institutions in society, they don't always respond quickly to clues of abuse because they haven't taught and they don't know what to do. And then crime, poverty, and other factors make women fearful of living alone, so they want to have somebody with them. And then there's the tendency to overprescribe drugs for women who are abused. They want to just automatically give them tranquilizers and other things to calm them down and to help them with depression. Other stereotypes and problems are the view that a woman's role is to take care of the family, and therefore any family troubles are the fault of the woman and are her responsibility to fix it. So I'll give you an example of this in real life. When I was married to my first husband, he abused drugs, and I was going to church. And in this church, they were telling me that if I was a better wife and mother, then he would choose me and the children over the drugs. Well, that's not the truth. I gave him the option to choose me and God and the children, or to choose his drugs, and he chose his drugs, and we were divorced. We were separated within a year. He refused to go for help and all of that, and that's another story. But the point being is, people usually say, well, what do you need to do to make things better at home? And they put all of the responsibility on the woman to fix the situation, and this is not correct. And this leads into the next one, which is family and friends tell the victim to try harder to be a better wife or partner. These are things that do not help. Actually, they put the victim in more danger in the situation. And this goes into the faith and community expectations that a wife keeps her marriage vows for better or for worse. And in a previous episode, I shared the story of another woman who went to her pastor and his wife asking for help for a husband who physically, psychologically, sexually, economically abused her. And they said that her job was to pray that he would change, that she had to endure his abuse, because if she separated, she was violating her vows before God. But he already violated all of that with what he was doing. And then there's the view that children always suffer from divorce and keeping the family together is imperative. These are the things that put the woman in more danger, that put the children in more danger. And these community attitudes are at the core of our nation's poor response to domestic violence. We can lead by confronting male dominance and calling out these sexist attitudes. You know, community attitudes shape the way we respond to domestic violence. If a large proportion of the public have a tendency to excuse or trivialize and minimize abuse, of course, victims are going to be reluctant to leave their violent partners. We need to challenge the foundations of gendered violence. Violence against women isn't good, but it's understandable. This is an idea, it's in quotes here. This is the idea that it is excusable for men to use violence in certain circumstances, like if they lose control, that they cannot always be held responsible for their actions, or that some kind of violence, such as sexual harassment, they're not serious. Here's another statement. It's okay for men to control their household and their wives' public life and relationships. This is the idea that men should be the head of the household, decide how money is spent, control who their female partner can or cannot see, and specify how she should spend her time. Here's another false statement and belief. Women and men are just naturally different, and women are more suited to domestic tasks, while men should be the breadwinners. This is the idea that men and women and girls and boys should act in certain ways or fulfill certain roles in the home and outside the home. It includes double standards concerning what is acceptable for men and women. Here's another statement. Aggressive behavior is just natural for men. This is reflected in the way some groups of men bond or seek to prove their manhood through actions that are negative, hostile, or aggressive towards women, like pickup artists or catcalling, wolf whistling, or speaking disrespectfully about women generally, or their female partners in the company of other men. Well, what can we do about this? We can address these attitudes by recognizing leadership skills in women in our churches and nurturing these gifts, ensuring a significant number of formal leadership positions are filled by women and people of color and, people of different races, not all just white men. We can be challenging the idea that violence and or aggression is a normal expression of being a man. We can call out anything that communicates male control and that female exclusion is acceptable. Call it out. It's not acceptable. We can call out anything that says male aggression and or aggressive conquests are a natural part of going out with the boys. I'll tell you, here in Honduras, the men are always catcalling and whistling at our visitors who come, females, and at me. I'll be driving down the street and these men, I love you, baby. Well, they don't even know me. This type of attitude needs to change. Another thing we can do is model and teach respectful relationship skills and healthy social connections. We can challenge the norms that restrict men and women to play certain roles at church, home, and work. There are men who are great fathers and want to stay home, and the wife goes out to work, and that's fine. There are men who step back from leadership while their wife is in a leadership role, or maybe the two of them are in leadership roles together. That's an amazing, powerful option. We can also recognize where we are diminishing or undervaluing women's work, both paid and unpaid. We also know that gender stereotypes can be reinforced and sustained through popular culture and media, such as blaming victims of violence, inaccurate reporting of family violence, sexualization of women and girls, depiction of gender stereotypes that reinforce power imbalances, such as that of the male breadwinner, and glorified and gendered violence. I'll tell you, some of the music I listen to is absolutely disgusting. There's a lot of good music and there's a lot of good artists out there and there's a lot of love songs. I'm not saying just Christian songs. No, there's a lot of other music I like too. But I will give an example of a 14-year-old girl that we had here who was in our refuge for girls who are victims of sexual violence. And she was reunited with a family member, and we found videos of her on TikTok doing booty dances to a song that says, "Oh, baby, do me hard, 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 yes, baby." And these are the types of things that Why are we allowing our girls to listen to this? Why are we allowing men to sing like this? Because it was a song sung by a man. Why do we allow that degrading type of behavior? You know, very little is being done to counteract the continued stereotyping and objectification of women in media and entertainment. I'm going to give you another example. We had gone to Cedros, which is a community near us, and for a week we had given classes on the prevention and intervention of violence against women and children and girls specifically during the week from kindergarten through graduation of high school, and with the parents and with the leaders. And we ended it was titled The Week Without Violence. We ended it with a march through the streets of the village with signs and stuff for promoting gender equality and stopping abuse and stopping stereotypes. And then we had an event in the park, and I was flabbergasted. I should have stood up. I failed in this. Here I am sitting at the main table up on the stage with the mayor, the head of the police, all of the important people from the community, and the different classes are doing different activities for us. And here comes a group of second grade girls in short shorts and halter types doing booty dances to horrible music as a presentation to us. I should have stood up and said, turn this off right now. This is incorrect. But I didn't. But this is what society views as normal, to teach young girls to do booty dances and dress promiscuously. Very little is being done to counteract the continued stereotyping and objectification of women in media and entertainment. However, the media can also be a powerful tool in preventing violence against women and children. The way news media frame a story about violence against women can have a powerful impact on the way the public understands the issue. And as audiences, we can help push for change. A lot of that is happening in the Gabby case, but that needs to happen with every case, not just Gabby's. You could be the person who saves a life. You are called, we are all called to be champions for justice. Those who suffer violence, they need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the courage and the help that they need to get out of their situation before it's too late. The question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? This series is dedicated in honor of Gabby Pettito, and she's a bright young woman whom the world has lost because of gender violence. It's a horrible story, but it's also dedicated to every single other woman and girl who has been a victim of domestic violence and sexual violence. If you are a victim of violence, I want you to know this. You are valued. You matter. You're loved. You're intelligent. You are beautiful. And God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. And there is a way out. Abuse is not love. If you are a victim of violence and or find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help, but also reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody before it's too late. To help get these messages out, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single one. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button, and please share these messages with everyone you know. You never know. Just by doing so, someone may see that, and it will give them the ability to recognize they're in trouble and to leave the situation. Or maybe it will give somebody who knows somebody who's suffering the ability to know what to do. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about domestic violence and pregnancy. Until then, God bless you.